Welcome back to episode 3 of the Child Willing Challenge. Last we left off, the children were still struggling with low mood and the constant threat of predators. There were a couple close calls, but so far, all the children have survived. We've acquired a few ducks and a few pigs that have been helping quite a bit with the food supply problems. Hopefully, once the food issue is fixed, then the mood problems will start to go away. We're starting off this episode with all of the children at a safe mood level, and most of them at full health. Only poor Vladimir is carrying some damage from before. The children have been hard at work trying to finish the building that will eventually get turned into their freezer, kitchen, and dining room. Once that's finished, then we can take the wall out in the old kitchen and turn it into a laboratory. That should help speed up research, at least a little bit. Let's make sure all these traps are getting rebuilt. Randy sends in angry animals to slowly destroy all the traps. We really have no choice but to just keep rebuilding them. Now that the dining room walls are finished, we can start putting the floor in and moving the tables over. I think for the short term, we'll go with the nutrient paste dispenser, since keeping the food stockpiled has been a significant ordeal so far. It's time to finally get power added to the colony. After that, they'll be able to start installing lights and swapping over to electric crafting tables instead of the manual ones. Choosing between wood power and wind power is a tough decision, since wood has been tough to keep a supply of, and wind requires a battery to be sustainable, which we don't have yet. I'm going to go with wind, since wood requires sending the children out to harvest far from the safety of the walls, where they're going to be vulnerable to predators. We can start planning out where the air conditioner will go for the freezer, and how the rest will be laid out. I'm not entirely sure where the nutrient paste dispenser is going to go yet, but we'll figure it out. The butcher table can also get moved into the freezer. It'll take up some space, but we don't need much room in here. It really just needs to store the food that will rot quickly. That last mad raccoon must have been a warning of things to come. A large pack of manhunting raccoons has arrived at the colony. They took out a lot of traps, but at least there's a few raccoon left over that didn't rot from the scaria. The freezer isn't set up completely, but at least we can move the stove down. The butcher table is already set up, so they can move all of the cooking down here. It is bad to have the butcher in the same place as the cooking stove, but since they're going to be mostly using the nutrient paste dispenser, it should be okay. They'll only really be using the stove for emergencies or for psychoid brewing. Now we just need to move the tables up, and we won't be too far off getting the dining room finished. Bruce has had his next growth moment. This one doesn't really provide for many options, but at least there's a good trait and a good passion. Intellectual and sanguine it is. Bruce would like to spend some time learning about ore mining, and he'd like to focus on watching others tailoring clothing. Interesting. He doesn't want to tailor, he just wants to watch. He does have a passion for crafting, so maybe that would be a good use of his time. Anyway, happy birthday, Bruce. One thing we didn't do earlier is setting up proper apparel policies. We need one for the full-grown children and one for the younger children. Both policies will only allow for 51% or higher durability and untainted clothing. The full-grown children can wear button-down shirts, pants, and dusters, while the younger children will wear just the child version of basic pants, shirt, and parka. There's still a few more construction projects that are going to need to get finished for this stage of the base. At some point, we'll want to add more buildings, but before then, let's finish setting up what we already have. A choke point in here will be incredibly useful against future raids. and it'll allow the children to travel between the barracks and the dining room during lockdowns. Well, the policy that I set up caused Ayaka to take off all of her clothing. Whoops. Let's get that fixed. Ayaka, I would have thought you had enough time spent without clothing. I think the problem was that she was wearing tribal clothing, and I forgot to add that to the policy she's using. We need to get tailoring set up so everyone can have new and proper clothing. It looks like Stench is making good progress getting the choke point finished. And none too soon since there's a bear looking around immediately outside. It's been going in and out of the animal pen, and it's one bad decision away from causing some real problems. Please, whatever you do, don't eat any of the children. Another project we need to finish is getting a research laboratory up and running. The research table has been moved in, and the wall is getting taken out. We should be able to fit 3 research tables in here. With the new patch, there's a pretty severe research penalty for any table in another room type. It would be at 60% research speed without the laboratory label. The basic table already has a speed penalty, but it's even worse when it's outside of a lab. Now the tailor bench has been built, and we can set up a few bills to automatically craft clothing when none is available. Let's set up 3 shelves, 1 for each piece of clothing that we are going to craft. The bills will be set to check the shelf for at least 1 high durability piece, and if not present, then it'll craft a new one and drop it on the shelf. The colonist will automatically equip the clothing, and then a new one will be crafted to replace it. Okay, all set. 1 for dusters, 1 for shirts, and 1 for pants. And now a cold snap has hit the colony just at the end of winter. It was already pretty cold out, but not so bad that it was requiring heating. Now with the cold snap, we're definitely going to need a fire to keep people from becoming hypothermic. We needed a fire, but I didn't mean that kind of fire. This fire has become absolutely out of control. I thought if we ignored it, it would go away, and because of that poor decision, it's now threatening to engulf the entire animal pen. I'm realizing now that we definitely need to replace these wooden fences with stone. Until then, the kids are going to have to do their best to keep the fire back. Now the rain has come and the fire is gone, but not before the damage to the pen was done. Animals have already started roaming freely, and the bear is really hungry. Unfortunately, one of the poor ducks has become the bear's dinner. I suppose better that than one of the children. We better get this fence repaired before more ducks get eaten. We really need those ducks to keep everyone fed. Now that the shelves are built, we can finalize these bills. Bruce is the only one with any crafting skill at all, and he has a passion for it, so he can be in charge of crafting and keeping everyone clothed. The animals are starting to run out of food. We need to make sure they don't overpopulate the grazing area. Let's try to keep it limited to 1 adult female duck per colonist. Other than that, we can keep the animal population pretty low. On top of that, we need to expand the animal pen a bit. This extra area should help. It looks like Bruce is starting to work on the clothing already. That's perfect. Basic mech tech is almost finished, which means Clink will finally be useful to the colony again. It's been turned off for so long now that I almost forgot that it was here. It's going to require a lot more steel, and I realize now that we're completely out. There's a ton of slag outside, so let's set up a smelter and get that processed. Of course, the smelter is going to also require steel, so we're going to need to get steel before we can get steel. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Raiders from the bats have arrived to try to kidnap some of the kids. This raid has really shown how badly placed this animal pen is. We're going to need to fix that in the near future. In the meantime, let's take out these raiders. The children are just terrible at shooting these bows, so we're going to have to rely on traps to do most of the damage. The first raider dropped to a trap and left a machine pistol on the ground. And unfortunately, it's bio-coated, so it's completely worthless. The raiders really love setting fire to the crops. The children run up to stop them, but there's not much they can do. They fire several volleys and only a hit a single time. At least the hare did a lot of damage before going down. You gotta run for your lives, children. The raiders are gonna kill you. They managed to kite one of the raiders through a door and right into a trap. Luckily that caused half the raiders to rout. Even with some of them running, there are still more bloodthirsty raiders and most of the crops are on fire. The children have managed to organize and implement a fire and retreat tactic, leading the next raider to their death. Now they have to deal with the last raider, who's going to be the biggest threat of all with a machine pistol. They've retreated back to a nearby ruin in order to try to wait them out, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. Instead of pushing into the ruins, the raider's smart. He's starting more fires, trying to lure the children out. By now, so many of the children have taken serious wounds, so if we don't end this soon, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. The raider has charged right towards the ruins, and with a loud, shrill scream, the children charge all at once and jump on the raider, pounding their tiny little fists into it. They keep swinging until the raider's no longer moving. He's definitely dead. You guys can stop now. Now we need to deal with all these wounds. The raid was really long, and they took a ton of damage. Many of them are still bleeding from several different wounds. Luckily, Stench is full health and can quickly tend to the damage. On top of all the damage, spending so much time fighting has caused moves to drop quite a bit. I think there's going to be a few breaks before this is all said and done. On top of that, the crops need to be replanted, and many of the fences need to be mended. Thankfully, winter has just ended and springtime has started. It's the perfect time to start working on outdoor projects. We need to make sure our animals don't wander away before the fence is repaired. Let's use this opportunity to replace the wooden fences with stone so we don't have to worry about fire causing problems for the pen in the future. The smelter still hasn't been finished, and they still need a large quantity of steel, so let's start deconstructing nearby ruins to collect the materials. I like the thought that they hadn't considered the idea before they head out there during the raid. It was only during the heat of combat that one of them realized that all those steel walls could be brought back and repurposed. We still need to set up 3 more similar bills for children's clothing. Kids' shirt, pants, and parka. We'd go with kids' duster if that was a thing, but since it's not, we'll just stick with the parka. They can just use the same shelves to store them as before. Oh, an exotic goods trader has arrived. Let's at least trade them whatever we can, though I doubt there's much that we can actually give them. Turns out we do actually have a lot of silver. It's just sitting around waiting to be spent. I think we'll also sell that prosthetic leg. It could be useful later, but it also could be sitting around for quite a while before anyone needs it. So let's get rid of it for now. In return, we definitely need to buy that psychic shock lance. It's possible to use that to try to nab a pawn to recruit, or to try to steal some gear. We still need a lot more steel, but luckily there's plenty on the map to deconstruct and bring back. Ayaka has decided to interrupt our plans and has begun a tantrum. Luckily, it's the easiest one to deal with. A smash objects in room tantrum. If you unassign the bed of the tantrum pawn, they won't have a room to smash up anymore, so they'll wander aimlessly until the end of the break. In this case, Ayaka ended the break almost immediately, which is rather convenient. Alright, back to work, everyone. Everything was going a bit too smoothly in the colony, so Randy needed to intervene. Gutworms ought to bring everyone back down a bit. Guzik, Ben, Stench, and Ayaka have all been infected. And it happened just as food was becoming less of an issue. I'm not sure if replacing fence is the best way to go about this. It might be better to build a new fence outside the old one, and then just deconstruct the old one. While we're figuring that out, Ben is at a growth moment. This is our second growth moment in a row with 1 passion and 1 positive trait. Then again, that is much better than only negative traits. That being said, both our choices here are fantastic. Medical and fast walker. Let's do a little experiment with the new circular plans and add a round section to the dining room. For now, this extra room can be used as surplus food storage for the food types that don't need to be stored in the freezer. I like that you can just copy and paste plans now. Let's do that and try to create a little symmetry in here. Our original stockpile is getting a bit full, so let's set up bills on the smelter to start destroying things that we don't need anymore. The dining room has had a dirt floor for a while now, and that needs to change. Let's put in a combination of wood and concrete floors. Now it's just a matter of figuring out what the pattern of concrete to wood is going to be. I'm really not a huge fan of wood floors due to the flammability, but there's just not enough steel to put concrete floors everywhere. We'll have to find a happy middle ground between resource availability and flammability. I was going to put in mostly wood, but now that I'm looking at it, I think an outline of concrete all around the wood will help stop the spread of fire and look halfway decent. While we were sorting out the dining room, Ben was off at the edge of the map doing who knows what, and caught the attention of an angry squirrel. Just like all the other RimWorld animals, the squirrel is absolutely massive compared to the Earth equivalent, so Ben might be in a bit of trouble here. Luckily he is off to a good start, and has smashed the body twice, and torn off its tail. Brutal. Ben managed to kill the squirrel before things got too nasty. He did take a lot of damage though. 6 total bleeds, that is not great. Better get home and get those tended. The nutrient paste dispenser is finally finished, and the base design is really starting to come together. I added a flagstone path and a few growing areas for floors. This is completely unnecessary, but I wanted things to look a bit nicer, for my own sake. After all, I have to keep looking at this place. Can't have it too ugly. Now we just need to get the paste dispenser some electricity, and we'll be good to go. Well, it's time for another growth moment. This time it's Ness's turn. It took a few growth moments to finally have one that was a difficult decision. 3 good passions and 2 very good traits. She's already got a passion in medical, so a double passion will work really well. Now it's a question of fast walker or tough. This is such a hard decision for me because I love tough, especially for children who are already quite fragile. On the other hand, fast walker is fantastic, especially for a doctor. Having your doctor arrive at a wounded pawn faster is always going to be useful. On top of that, tough is only effective when a pawn is taking damage. If a pawn doesn't take damage, then tough never does anything. Fast walker, on the other hand, is literally always active and is always making a pawn more efficient. Normally, I'd pick tough over fast walker, but since this pawn is going to be trained up to be a doctor, let's go with fast walker. Several of the colonists have hit dangerous mood thresholds yet again. Stumpy is the first to break and has gone on an insulting spree. If we let that happen, then the low mood will infect the other pawns and cause a cascading effect. They could try arresting, but none of them have very good social, so let's just go with the physical solution. Well, good work, kids, you stopped him. Where are your parents to teach you not to solve your problems with violence? Well, you got lucky at work this time. Everyone back to work. Nothing to see here. Actually, somebody please tend to those wounds. Ah, great, now Ben is pissed. He probably disagreed with how everyone handled the Stumpy situation. At least he's taking his frustrations out on inanimate objects and not on everyone else. I'll allow it, but maybe in the future you should find a healthier outlet. It would be nice if breaks very rarely led to healthy outcomes like, I don't know, seeking out new friendships or starting a new hobby. Oh well. Now that the nutrient paste dispenser is fully online, hopefully our food supply problems will slowly become a thing of the past. It really should help quite a bit. It's slow work, but now that the first 2 buildings are all but finished, we can start working on the next couple expansions. The food storage room needs to be finished, and then we can start working on a brand new building. Let's get Stench to work on building these new walls. Oh, also, I forgot until just now that the next plan was to replace the pen fence with stone instead of wood. Let's see how the new replace feature does. Turns out replace and build is not a great solution when you're talking about animal pen fences. The animals can't decide if they want to be inside or outside the pen. It would be way better just to build the fence around the old one, then deconstruct. Oh well, lesson learned. In the future, I'm definitely not going to do it this way again. While the children are all busy outside the colony working on their assigned chores, a group from the Learn Your Collar pack have begun to organize an ambush. One of the children spotted them at the perimeter of the colony and alerted everyone to the danger. They took the opportunity to retreat and regroup before anyone could be caught off guard. Except Stench. Unfortunately, Stench didn't receive the memo and wandered off far enough to almost get caught in the ambush. She managed to realize what was happening just in time to start running back to the safety of the walls without running into too much trouble. The children gathered to show their strength, only to begin to retreat. This has really become a common tactic for them. The raiders thought they had the upper hand and didn't realize until they rounded the corner that something was wrong. After several traps were sprung, the remaining raider, realizing they were completely alone, began to run for their life. Well, thankfully that was a pretty easy raid. On to the next thing. It has taken a while, but battery tech is finally almost finished. After it does, we'll be able to finally take full advantage of the wind turbine and keep the base powered for the near future. Just to make things more fun, Ben has decided to start insulting everyone around him. At the moment, there's really only one solution to this problem. Yep, that. At least there was no permanent damage. Okay, good. Battery is finished. We can start working on researching smithing next. Let's start with 2 batteries in the laboratory. They'll produce a little bit of heat, but it shouldn't be anything that the colonists will end up noticing. There we go, all built. The newest pen expansion is built, and this time it's made completely out of stone. Only a couple more signs, and then we finally can stop worrying about fire letting all the animals free. Well, this is not good. The Lynx has started hunting Nag, and she's way too far from the base. It's already caught her, and there's nothing she can do to get away from it. Now Guzik has run in to try to distract it from eating her, but instead the Lynx has decided to leap on him and start biting. Now Guzik is down, and the Lynx is back on Nag. Thankfully the rest of the children have made it out by now and are firing on the Lynx. Okay, the Lynx is dead, and all the children are still alive. Now we need to get them back to safety, and those wounds need to be tended. That's the end of the 3rd episode of the Child Only Challenge. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe to the channel for updates on all future videos. For those of you who made it all the way to the end, please consider checking out my Patreon to help support the creation of more videos like this one. You'll find the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.